What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. This is the Existential Stoic podcast. I'm Randy. That's Danny. What's going on, Danny?
What's up, Randy?
This is a time of year when people start making resolutions they're never going to keep.
Yeah, ain't that
Mhm.
the truth?
Yeah.
They make resolutions. I think it's a good time for reflection.
Mhm.
You know, it's always good to look back on your year, I think, and see, what you accomplished, what you did, were you happy with it? Resolutions, I don't think it's so funny because this is the time of year you see like everybody's like, I'm gonna go to the gym every day, or I'm gonna do like this like get healthy in 3 week thing, or like they're always like these really short programs, like
Mhm.
you know, develop habits in 32 hours.
Right? See, the other day someone asked me, they're like, "So, are you going to make some New Year's resolutions?" And I was like, "Are you serious?" Like I felt like that question from a 40-year-old virgin, like, is it true if you don't use it, you lose it? And they're like, are you serious? I was like that because I was like, hasn't every study shown that no one actually sticks to their resolutions? Like the actual time they stick to it is maybe a couple of weeks, something like that. But I'll tell you, I'm getting ready for the gym to get packed because this
Yeah,
week between
yeah.
Christmas and New Year's, it is empty. I went to a class that usually it's like a Pilates class. They have, I think, 14 or 16 reformer machines there. It's usually full. This week, there's like four or five people, empty, but guaranteed next week,
They'll be,
full waiting list,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. They'll have to do multiple classes and stuff. Oh, everything gets packed, and it'll last till maybe if you're some of the stragglers will make it to like the end of January, and that'll be it.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, "This is hard."
Yeah, it stinks. Yeah, so
Well,
we figured we would do an episode on New Year's because it's a appropriate, timely episode. So what do you like to
it
do
keeps happening.
around New Year's? You do
Yeah,
anything? You have any New Year's type habits?
not really. I mean, I guess I don't really do so. I don't do a lot. I mean, I don't really celebrate a lot of times that people celebrate, I guess. They don't,
Mm-hmm.
they just seem like another day. But I do personally think New Year's is a good time for reflection. I think if you don't do it, at least it's a good time to start thinking about your life, thinking back and thinking about what you want. Because I think that's better than like, I think that's why people make resolutions. I think they really do. It comes from a good place. They really want to change things. It's like people feel like it's a fresh start. It feels that way in some sense. So it's like, okay, I can get started on it, but it just doesn't work because they don't really have like the long term. It's just they're not thinking about it all
Uh,
the time.
you
So I
remember
think
you
it's a good
remember
time
from
for
Arrested
reflect, though.
Develop sorry, you remember from
Oh yeah,
Arrested
yeah.
Development, A New Start, when Tobias got the license plate A New Start? For any of you listeners out there who have seen that, oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, I agree
Show's
with
good.
you. Reflection is key. That's something that I tend to generally around New Year's Day. Uh, I do kind of look back. I take like it's like a longer than normal journaling session because usually in the
Yeah.
morning I journal, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. Uh, but like my New Year's Day one is generally an hour, maybe a couple hours, where I kind of go back through what I've done this past year and then also look at what I would like to do in the upcoming year. Because it's just uncanny, like how just writing it down actually makes it happen.
Dude,
Like
it's amazing.
there's so much stuff that I've written down and forgotten about, and then I'll look back a year later and I was like, "Holy cow, that happened! Wow, that happened too!" And it's just like it's just uncanny.
Dude, I have like lists of things on my phone and in my journal, and like half the time I forget, I never go back and like cross them off, and I'll go back like a week or two later, and they're done. It's really nice. It's just you just
Mm-hmm.
got to write them down because it puts it in your head to do it once you actually put it out there in the world. You have to actually write it down though. It's the truth. Like for some reason, if you don't write it down, like you'll forget it. But if you write it down, it's like somehow you just do it. It's weird. You
Mm-hmm.
get started on it. You start thinking about how to actually accomplish it rather than just the idea. I think that's what it is.
Now
It's weird.
I'm going to guess that a lot of listeners, all three of them that we have right now, a lot of
Yeah,
listen,
right.
a lot of listeners. Hi, mom, and a lot of listeners are they might want to start some new stuff this new year. But we already dispelled the whole New Year's resolution type thing. I
Do
mean, that's
that.
just guaranteed to lose. So how could they set themselves up for success? Being that it is the new year, it's a great time to start new stuff, but like you don't want it to be just a freaking regular New Year's resolution
I
because that's like you're
I
setting
would
yourself up for failure. Yeah.
Yeah, you are. And I think well, because I think everybody does a New Year's resolution. I think the biggest flaw that really exists in New Year's resolution is the belief that you'll is a belief really that 3 weeks to a month is enough. And I think that's really the biggest flaw. Like they don't have in mind the long haul of like a real commitment to something. They want to feel good about starting it, but not as soon as it gets hard, you stop because that's really when things are difficult, right? It's always fun to start new things. They're enjoyable, but then, once you get into the routine of it, it gets difficult. So I think you have to have that long-term like mindset that like,
Mm,
I'm not going to do this for a week. I'm going to do this for the year, kind of thing.
mm,
But like you were saying, I think reflecting back first of all in your year, ask yourself like, what did I accomplish? Am I happy with it? Who were the most important people in my life last year? Why? Who maybe got in my way or what maybe was made difficult because of X, Y, and Z, what things really like brought me down, am I on a path that I want to be on? What are my goals? Am I working towards them or am I going away from them? Ask yourself those kinds of questions so you can start to kind of get a sense of like, what do I really want? And what should I really be doing? And then you can start shifting your course in that direction. And it won't be, don't expect it to be immediate, Like we were just talking before this, but like I look back at the last year, I got so much done. Like when we started last year, I could not have started to apply for tech jobs. And now I can. I have been, And it's like that wasn't even a full year. It's amazing. Like you just gotta like, but once you commit to it, you can change everything. Really, a year is a long time. It doesn't feel like it, but it is a long time. You can do a lot in a year if you commit to it, but you have to commit fully. And I think that's the hard part.
mm.
So I would say doing that first, like reflecting in that way is a great way because that helped. I remember like this is going back like I don't know, 5 years or so, but I remember doing that and realizing how unhappy I was with a lot of things. Not everything, but a lot of things. And then that was a really good starting point to change things, significantly. And now I am very happy, I would say. I mean, I'm happy-ish, except for when I'm hungry and tired.
Which is every day. Yeah.
Then I'm
I
wildly
actually
depressed.
I really like what you said there about kind of taking an emotional inventory because I've never even thought about that. That's like for me, it's always been so much like to do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. I never even considered like looking what over the past year have been my triggers. Like when have I flipped my lid or when have I felt the worst or the best? Because that's something I mean, granted, all these things to do, but really all these things to do are just to make myself feel good. So if I could just, cut out the middleman and feel good initially, I wouldn't even need to do all this stuff. That is good.
Yeah. I think too, I would think instead of like, at least my recommendation would be instead of like New Year's resolutions, try and develop habits, like actual routines or set routines for yourself and start very small. Because I noticed that is the key to like building habits, I think, is don't start with I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna diet, and I'm gonna start journaling every day because you're not gonna do all those things. It's too much. Start with like I'm gonna go to the gym twice a week and I'm gonna do that till April or something. Or start with
Mhm.
like I'm gonna journal for 5 minutes a day in the morning and night. That's it. Make that your just one thing your resolution. Not because people make whole lists and that's why they break that down because it's just too much stuff.
Or they just make them too hard. Like, I'm glad you said that because people will be like, oh, I got to go to the gym 3 hours a day. And it's like, okay, up until this point, you have your job, which you go to, 8 hours a day, and you have your 2 hour commute each way. And then now and you basically get home exhausted and you pass out in front of the TV watching Netflix every night. So, like, all of a sudden, now you're going to add 3 hours of working out a day. Let's be serious. How long is this going to last? It's like, how about I just, like, I've actually heard that some of these like setting the bar super super low, like so low that you can't even say no. Like all that I have to do is actually set foot in the gym every day. And people be like, but
Yeah.
I'll never achieve anything like that. I can't get ripped if all I have to do is step inside the gym and then I can leave. And it's like, yeah, but that's the minimum. That's like the least you do. You just have to get in there because most people don't even do that. They think about oh, I have this 3 hour workout I have to do. I don't feel like doing it today. Okay, fine. I'm not going to do it today. And then the next day and the next day and the next day, and they just don't do it.
And it's gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
that's oh, go ahead.
And
Yeah, no, go ahead.
here's another thing. Don't miss 2 days. Like everybody's going to cuck up and like miss one day. But like, don't make it a habit. Don't miss 2 days. Like, especially if you missed yesterday, get back on it, because that's how it ends. Like, we all
Yeah.
know how it begins with like, yay, rah, I'm gonna post to social media because I need to be accountable to everybody and they all need to know this. And
Oh, I
you
forgot
know,
about that shit.
oh my gosh, I love it.
Oh, that's
And
great.
and so like everybody knows how to start it, but how it ends is you miss one day because whatever. Everybody misses a day. But then you let that become a habit. You miss the next day and the next day and the next day. Just have a rule. Don't miss 2 days. Simple.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think the thing about it though is it's accountability and it's personal accountability. And the problem is, I think for most people, and I'm not being judgmental because I was the same way, so I just put this out there, but like myself included,
Before we were
when you
enlightened
make
and more woke than everybody who's
yeah,
listening. Yeah.
yeah, before we were better than everybody else. But
Just
no, but
kidding.
seriously, like,
Woke isn't a
but you know,
competition.
it is though. It is a competition. Before I no, but seriously, like, but you know, before I would try and set these goals for myself, and I would make them like way too hard, like you said, and then you just get discouraged, and it makes you more negative, more upset, more depressed. If you just focus on little things, you show yourself that you can do it. One, which is great. You feel good about it, and it motivates you to build more routine into your day. Because the trick isn't about like setting yourself a whole list of stuff to do. It's about changing your routine and being accountable. That's all it is. Because you have to make time for all of this. So if you're going to go to the gym for an hour a day, you got to cut an hour of other stuff out of your day, or figure out what is worthless time that you're using, like scrolling on social media, watching TV. You have to find a way to cut stuff out that's going to allow you to have that time. And if you don't do that, you're never going to succeed in any of your resolutions. So
Yeah.
I think starting small is great because it teaches you how to build into your day those things that you really want.
Yeah. And also I like what you said earlier about simplifying, because it really is, it can only ever be one thing. Ever.
Yeah.
Because once you start trying to change more than one thing at a time, you just get lost because you're trying to do this and you forget about that, and then you forget about this. And it's like, I was kind of laughing when people are like, so you have any New Year's resolutions? Like they're asking
Yeah.
what multiple things in your life are you going to change?
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah, I don't feel like getting set up for failure and doing this. And plus, like, I get that, like, it's a new year, so you can start some new stuff. But like, why do you need to wait until the new year? Like, that's the thing that's always
Yeah.
gotten me. When people ask, they're like, so you're gonna do New Year's resolutions? I'm like, no, when I want to do something, I just do it. I don't need to wait until January 1st. Like,
Yeah.
could you
I think
imagine
that's where
could you
oh
imagine
my
like
God.
February 3rd, you're like, oh, I want to do this, but I gotta wait until next January 1st. Like
I got 11 months
11
to
more
wait.
months.
I better write a big post-it. The well, no, it's funny. I think that's why, like, I think it's why people have such a hard time starting them because they get caught up in these things and these social expectations. And that's the other thing too, I would say, is like make sure if you do make resolutions that they're not what you think other people want, that there's something you actually want. Because that's also crucial. Like it's got to be about you. It's got to be about being intentional, and it's you got to have the motivation to do it. So it's got to be stuff you actually want. And that's why I would agree with you. I wouldn't wait either. Just start when you're ready to start. Like, I mean, we started in what was that, March last year to do the one thing, like the boot camp, because it was a good time. We were ready. We did it. You
Mhm.
just start when you're ready. Don't
And
wait
we
for
weren't even
anything.
both ready. It was like
No, we weren't.
inconvenient.
Not even at all.
It was
Yeah, super
inconvenient in the
inconvenient.
beginning. I mean, if we were waiting for all the green lights, it never would have happened. But we just
Yeah,
got started.
it was super inconvenient. It just happened to, yeah. And I think you just got to do it. That's the way to do it sometimes because it forces you to build it into your day and, deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but you can't do that unless you've already like done stuff like that before, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also say focus on the actions, not on the results. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people want this sexy, super awesome body. And when they don't get that in 3 weeks, they're pissed off. But it's like, okay, how about focusing on the actions? Did you go to the gym every day for 3 weeks? Okay, cool. Good. You're doing it. Just keep that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest. I had abs for like 6 months, and that is hard. It is very hard to maintain. Like,
Dude,
not worth it.
I had them for like
Yeah, it's so
a month or
yeah,
two, and
it's
that
so
was it.
difficult.
And
It's so hard to
I was
do.
drinking like gallons of water a day, working out like
Oh
4 hours
God.
a day, running
Yeah,
nonstop. Like,
it's
yeah,
horrible.
crazy.
It takes so much time. If I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have done it unless I was in grad school, because I didn't have, it was like a good release, from
Mm-hmm.
everything else. But like, God, yeah. But that's what I think people don't realize too. Like, it's like, it's a huge commitment. I think like there's times in your life when it's a great thing to do. Like I said, like when I was in grad school, I was reading and writing, and that was a great way to get, just rid of stress and stuff. Was so I went to the gym for like hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people that are like retired that like go for hours a day, and it's great because like they're doing something that's good for them. It's going to prolong their life and all, but they have the time. They don't have other commitments. They're like, and that was a time in my life when I had the time to do that. I don't have the time to go to the gym for 3 hours a day right now. I wouldn't want
Mm-hmm.
to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Like I just don't. It's
Yeah.
not,
Ugh,
not practical.
so much time on like the elliptical machine. Oh gosh.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I hate
Uh,
cardio too. I really do hate cardio.
yeah. Uh, oh, so here's another thing that we were just on our other episode we brought up that might actually be cool. Is so I was reading today about bucket lists because people have these bucket lists that they think they're somehow going to knock out when they're old and dying. And somehow they think that the longer the bucket list is, the longer they're going to live. But it's not true. Like Earth to whoever's
The
listening,
longer the bus, the
we're
longer the
all
longer.
dying. 100% guaranteed we're all going to die. And you never know if it's going to be tomorrow or 100 years in the future. But the thing is, I haven't done this yet, but I think this year I'm going to do this because I don't even know of a bucket list that I have. But I was thinking when
Long
I'm
one.
doing my New Year's journaling to actually write down a bucket list, like stuff that I haven't done that I would like to do in my life,
Good
and
idea.
then prioritize it. Like if I could only do one thing, what would that one thing be? If I could do two things, what would those two things be, or three things? And then start working on those things. Because who knows? This
Yeah.
could be my last year. Could be end of our last year. But like I'll never get those bucket list things done if I don't start working on them now.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because like I remember, I remember in grad school, I had friends who were they're going to law school right after. It's common, especially from philosophy, you do
Mm-hmm.
better on the LSATs or whatever. But like, I remember talking to one kid, and he was like, "Yeah, I just want to get a job as a lawyer. I'll work my ass off, and then I'll retire and do all these things." And he had this like list of stuff, and I was like, "Why don't you do that like sooner though, not later?" Because I was like, then you're gonna be like older. You don't know if you're gonna feel good. You don't know how you're like, you might die before then. You might, have a heart attack. All these things can happen before then. Why put it off? Like if it's something that really matters that much to you, don't put it off. Do it sooner rather than later. Figure out how to do it now. And I think that's like the biggest mistake people make is they imagine they'll always have time to do these things, and they imagine they'll always feel like they feel now when they wrote
Mm-hmm.
it down. Like, if you want to travel, don't wait until you're 80. Because guess what? All those steps, the airport, all that stuff's going to be a million times harder because you're going to be frail and maybe you'll have trouble walking. You don't know. Maybe you'll be fine. I don't know. I'm not trying to be, dismal or whatever, but like, do it now and you can really enjoy it and enjoy the experience. And it also might open up things that you want to still do, because you might travel somewhere and realize, oh my God, I want to go to this other place. Or, you might do this new hobby and realize, oh, that opens up a whole world of new things. You might want to change your career. You never know. So if you do it now, your life could be so much different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Do it now. That's the key.
I think the problem is too, people worry too much about what other people think, outside obligations, and they don't think about themselves, their own values, and their
That's
own wants enough.
selfish.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. It's your life.
I know, right? That whole idea of things being selfish, like, ugh, it's really not. What was?
People that say that are trying to guilt trip you into doing something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Usually.
absolutely. Trying to manipulate you. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. But then, I mean, you literally get to do what you want to do in life, and then you get to have a good life.
Yeah.
That's what we're
I mean,
all
isn't that
going
by
after.
definition what a good life is?
That's what we're all
Yeah.
going after, the good life. So, what other stuff about New
Ryan,
Year's? Mm. Hmm.
I would say don't put too much stress on yourself because of it. That's also a bad move. I think you got to take all these things like, I don't know how to say it right, but like when you really want something, it's going to be hard. Like, yes, it'll be hard. Everything's always going to be difficult because anything new is going to be a challenge. But don't stress yourself out about it. That just makes it worse. Don't imagine, how it's going to be. Don't worry about that. Just start it. Just do it. And you'll find out how it is once you do it.
Hmm.
Like, don't stress about things. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a key point is you just knock out a little bit every day. Like today I was talking with you before we started recording about how I just had like a nasty headache earlier today and I felt like
Yeah.
garbage and like I didn't want to do anything, like anything. But I just was knocking off one thing after another thing and just like, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do 10 minutes. And that's like because I know that I do 10 minutes enough and eventually it's going to be something huge. Like we were talking, I think in one of these other things, how I heard this study that if you do something 5 minutes every day, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
better retention than if you do it for 3 hours one time a week. So if you do it
Yeah.
5 minutes a day, that's 35 minutes. That's better than doing it just one time a week for 180 minutes. You get like you save 6 times the amount of time. And like, think about how hard it is to do something for 3 hours. Goodness. But like 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And ever since I heard that just blows my mind because it's just like literally anything I want to do. I don't have to make it some big thing. I can just make it 5 minutes a day.
Well, as long as you do it every day, you're that kind of person, like they say, who does those sorts of things, and you're constantly reinforcing it. So you're constantly making your brain make those connections, those neural connections. You're constantly reinforcing those neural connections. Your likelihood of remembering it is like a million times better. You do it once a week, those neural connections might be made, but then they're forgotten
Mm,
immediately. You're not making, but if you do it every day, you're also thinking about it. So you're probably making connections to other things in your life. You're probably thinking about it throughout the day, stuff like that, like reinforces it when you're not even really doing any work. I noticed that with like programming. Like it was a great example where like because this problem solving, like where I'll get stuck on something, I'll go do something else, but your brain still works it out. I love that about our brains. They do
mm.
stuff when you're not doing anything, you're not
Yeah,
paying
it's
attention
it's
to
so great at solving problems. It'll
it.
create problems even if you don't have any.
Yeah, and then solve them for you. Fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it never shuts off. Just like, oh my goodness, always solving problems.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would be nice if it shut off once in a while, but you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the new year, just enjoy it.
I would say,
Heck.
yeah, just enjoy it. Don't do it for anybody else but you. If you're going to do anything, just do it for yourself. Don't worry about other people. Don't try and impress them. Don't even post on social media that you're doing it. Don't do that. That just sets yourself up for failure. Like it's
Oh
not a good idea.
gosh. I just laugh at all these people who take pictures of their food and like post their food on social media. Like, what kind of dopamine drip are you getting where like you need somebody to give a thumbs
I don't
up to
know.
your food?
That looks
Uh,
great.
yeah. Wow.
I guess maybe if you're like making something, I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of. Like if you're like trying out stuff, but even then I don't get it because I don't
Mhm.
use it though, so I don't know what the appeal is. I don't
We're too
understand.
old. We're too old.
We are.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Outdated.
Good enough. Back in my day. Yeah. Yeah. So that's
You didn't
it.
even text.
Yeah. I know. Back in my day,
Yeah,
Nintendo had just come out. Uh,
it
yeah.
was sweet.
I know, right? The good stuff. So this
And you had
is
to meet, you had to meet your friends at their house to play. You couldn't even play online.
I
It
know.
was crazy.
I fantasize about that back when you would just go outside and run around.
Yeah.
Like that stuff doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. So in a nutshell, there it is. Uh New Year's, whatever. And this is the Existential Stoic podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy it, share it with friends and family. We will catch you guys later. Check it out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Randy. That's Danny. I'll see you later, Danny.
Later, Amy.